The following program is a paid presentation from the California Elder Law Center. The information and opinions expressed herein are solely those of the California Elder Law Center and are not the opinions of K-News, Alpha Media, management, or employees.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Elder Answers. This is the show where we get together every week and we discuss the major issues facing seniors in the United States today. Hi, everybody. This is Michael McGuire with the California Elder Law Center, where for the last 25 years, we've been able to deal with the issues facing seniors, whether it was doing quality estate planning, avoiding probate, or perhaps preparing for or trying to access public benefits to help pay for long-term care, whether those benefits were coming to the individual through Medi-Cal in a nursing home, or perhaps through the Veterans Administration for vets who have served during a period of war, or the spouses of vets who had served during a period of war. And so everybody in the United States is really confronted with these basic issues. And now more than ever, I know, and I can tell you from experience, that people are coming into our office now that really want to make sure they've got all of their documents in order. They're really worried about this issue. That's something they put off for a long time. And now they really want to get down to the point where they know that they're comfortable that everything they want to take care of is going to be taken care of. They don't want to deliver a problem into the lap of their children. They don't want to end up being dependent upon other people to take care of their business for them when the time comes. And as a result, they're willing and they are really driven to take care of issues today. And we are all experiencing the need to address issues living through a pandemic. We are all beginning to understand that we all have a personal responsibility to ourselves and our families is to address issues that only we can take care of ourselves. And that's not uncommon when you're talking about setting up an estate plan. You know, the whole idea of doing an estate plan really is to initially anyway, when you're thinking about this, is to answer the question. It's an important question. The question is what happens when I pass away? Where does my stuff go? Who do I need to protect in the family? Are there any special circumstances for members of my family that I'm concerned about, that I want to make sure they're protected? Do I have grandchildren that I'm really worried about the fact that if their parent, my child, had predeceased me, that they would not be in a position to be protected. They wouldn't be getting funds from a legacy that I may have worked very hard for, and I want to make sure goes to the grandchildren. I may have somebody in my family who has a situation in which they're on public benefits, and they're counting on those public benefits to provide them with health care. They're absolutely in need of that benefit, and if they inherited somebody, it would blow up their ability to access their medical care. And as a result, they would be left exposed to the enormous cost of medical care and end up broke and having to go back onto the public benefit anyway. That's not what we want. That's not what I want. And I don't think it's what you want. You know, over and over again, people come into the office, and this year it's been acute, let's face it, that they really want to make sure that what they have down on paper is the same as what's in their heart and what's in their mind as far as how they're doing this kind of planning. And so doing estate planning is fundamental for middle-class families in that if they would like to protect funds and that they would like to achieve the goal that just about everybody does. And when you're doing quality estate planning, what you're doing is you're combining a couple of different issues into one set of documents that you're not only answering the question of what happens when I die, where does my stuff go, who's going to get it, how am I going to protect everybody, how do I minimize the costs to my family, but you're also going to be in a situation in which you, if you have done this quality planning, you can also answer the question of what happens if I live. Will I be able to determine how I'm going to pay for my care and who's going to take care of me? Those kinds of issues take you from the realm of estate planning into the realm of elder law. The two are compatible. The elder law community does estate planning. Those are the tools of the trade: a trust, a durable power of attorney, a will, an advanced health care directive, a personal property assignment, certification of the trust. But now we want to make sure that those documents are going to hold up when an individual is confronted with a situation in which they're flat on their back, perhaps in a institutional environment, not because they want to be, but because that's just what is necessary for their care. Like being in a nursing home, or like being in assisted living, or trying to have somebody that you're counting on to take over the financial side of your life is empowered to do that and can struggle with the dilemma of dealing with financial institutions today that their employees are so poorly trained, or so they're undertrained. They are really representing the fact that the institution doesn't trust their own employees. It's not that they don't trust the person who's the agent underneath a durable power of attorney. So how do we navigate this morass of issues? And it's not going to work out very good for you if the idea is, well, when the time comes, I'll take care of it. Among other things is that, when an individual is in a situation where they're in a hospital, or they're in a assisted living, or they're in a board and care, or if they're in a nursing home, is the people trying to help them can't get in. You can't get in and sign documents. You can't get in and get things notarized. Everybody is stuck. And so we live in a different world that has a different demand upon you to be responsible to take care of your stuff ahead of time so you get the outcome that you really want. It's sort of interesting when you take a look at some of the results of people who are part of focus groups dealing with trying to understand what's important to seniors, people 65 on up. They always come to the same conclusion. They always get the same response, and they always get them in the same sequence, which is quite interesting. The first response from everybody who's a senior is, what's most important to you? Tell us what are the 3 things that you consider to be critically important and you're worried about, and you want to make sure that you get the outcome you want. Number 1 is, I want to stay at home. I do not want to be institutionalized. I don't want to be locked away in some institution somewhere. Well, locked away is a good description of what's going on in the world today because of the pandemic. And so now you need to be proactive about dealing with these kinds of issues, is that you don't want to be institutionalized. But here's a fact. 80% of seniors in the United States don't get to pass away in their home. They aren't at home. 80% of seniors die in some kind of an institutional environment, whether it's a hospital or a nursing home or assisted living. And as a direct result, their number one concern or number one goal is 80% of the time, 8 out of 10 times, it doesn't work out the way they really wanted it. The second issue is they don't want to go broke. They do not want to be turned into a pauper. This is really an issue I see over and over again. An elderly couple, may have set aside a nice little nest egg for themselves, but now they're confronted with a real trauma, and that trauma comes from one spouse may be sucking up all the assets of the family for their care, leaving the surviving spouse with nothing to protect them. Or the well spouse is the one who passes away first, and suddenly all the funds are gone. And now we're desperately trying to figure out what's next and who's going to provide the care and who's going to be in charge. So these scenarios happen over and over again. They're marched through our office, and we're glad they do because it gives us a chance to help these people. That's why we encourage you to pick up the phone and call 760-422-0404 and to go through the process of arranging for a free consultation. This way we can determine what it is that you have in the way of documents and what it is that is going to serve your needs best, and to determine what it is that you want. And so you don't want to be institutionalized. You don't want to go broke. And when you're paying $10,000 a month to be in a nursing home, it's pretty clear you're going to go broke. And the last one is sort of interesting. It's people say, I don't want to be a burden on my family. I don't want to deliver my problems to the doorstep of my children. I don't want what I'm going through to disrupt their lives. But I got news for you, brother. I've got news for you. When the time comes, who exactly did you expect to take care of this? How is this supposed to work? Did you ever talk to these kids about who's going to be the one to step up, who's going to take care of it? That in itself can cause a lot of divisiveness in a family. And so The issue now becomes is the people who have spent a little bit of time and effort, that have thought this thing through, or even better, have talked to somebody who has done hundreds, maybe thousands of these kinds of plans, so that they can raise the issues and allow you to understand what it is that's important, what it is you have to do to have the kind of outcome you want, so that maybe you can stay at home, maybe how you can help avoid going broke, taking care of yourself or your spouse, and how you can avoid not being a burden on your family, not being a crushing load on your family, trying to scramble around and figure out what to do. And, this is compounded out here in the Coachella Valley from the standpoint of what? Well, so many people live remotely from their family. Their family's in Oregon, their family's in Washington, their family is in San Diego, or it's in Long Beach, or it's up in the Santa Barbara. They don't live here. This is a retirement community. These people, their families, their children live in Texas. They live in Chicago. They live back east. And so as a result, they are separated from their family. And it's very, very difficult. And yet, if you call 422-0404 and we sit and talk, you're going to find out there's lots of resources that help you cope with those kind of issues, that preserve the quality of your care, that set the mind and the conscience of your children at ease, because they now have a link. They now have a representative here on the ground protecting you. It's a very, very difficult situation to go through. It's a kind of a situation that, believe me, is very straining on the family when you are separated geographically from your children or from your immediate family and you're trying to take care of a person. And I will tell you, invariably, it seems to fall on the shoulders of just one or two members of the family anyway. Not everybody can predict who's the caregiver in the clan, and not everybody can predict that even those individuals are going to be the ones that are going to answer the bell to help save you, to help protect you. But you can go through this process now, and the earlier you do it, the better the outcome is.
The cost of long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and, frankly, not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law, helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
This is Michael McGuire, Elder Law Attorney with the California Elder Law Center, and you're listening to Elder Answers. Listen, having a quality estate plan provides peace of mind. It gets you out from underneath the dilemma, the emotional vampire of anxiety. And yes, what you thought was a good estate plan 15, 20 years ago, you know in your heart of hearts needs to be reviewed and probably needs to be redone given the changes that have taken place over these last 20 years, both in the law and in your life. And so that's the purpose of having a consultation with an elder law attorney to see about bringing these issues together in order to make sure you've got the level of protection and care that you want for yourself and for your family. It's worth our time to sort of review a little bit the purposes that people, middle-class families, utilize the device of a revocable trust here in California. Why would anybody get a trust? For those of you that do have a trust, you should be asking yourself this question. It would be interesting to see what kind of an answer you come up with, is why did you get a trust in the first place? What was the purpose of it? For those of you that haven't done it, is why have you not addressed this issue? Anybody who owns a piece of real property in the state of California really is an ideal candidate to utilize a trust for a lot of different reasons. But let's just spend a couple minutes talking about some of those reasons. My experience is the reason most people approach the process of getting a trust and estate plan put together starts off with their desire to avoid probate. Probate is a process, and it's also the name of a court, in which we have an asset in which the owner of the asset, the owner who is entitled to that asset, is now deceased, and we don't know who's supposed to get that asset. Let me give you an example. A husband and wife buy a home. They buy the home typically as husband and wife as joint tenants with rights of survivorship. Now, what does that mean? That means when the first spouse passes away, the second spouse owns the house lock, stock, and barrel. Now, it's necessary to file some documentation with the county recorder's office to clarify the issue of what happened to that owner who is now deceased. That's what the title company wants to know. And so that would impact your ability to get a loan or to sell the property. And it's something that appropriately, when one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse should tend to as early as possible. Now, given that that second spouse now passes away, raises another issue. Who gets the house? Where does the house go to? How do we know it's supposed to be delivered to the people we think it should go to? Well, we look to the will, if they have one, and that will, if that's all there is a will require being lodged with the court, the probate court, and it is there that they will decide if that's a valid will, and they will decide who is going to get that house based upon the terminology and the disposition provisions of the will. Or if there is no will, they will simply impose a state-designed estate plan without regards to what you wanted or what you thought was important. They will just move forward and do it. And so that's not the kind of an outcome most people are looking for when it comes to getting an estate plan that dictates who gets what when I pass away. But there's other issues with probate that over almost universally people are concerned with. The probate process in California can be quite expensive. The way they peg the fees, the statutory fees for a probate, is on the first $100,000 in value, it's 4%, that's $4,000. The second $100,000, it's 3%, that's another $3,000. The next 100%, that's a 2%, that's another $2,000. And the final charge for a probate for fees to the attorney who's handling this is 1% of the remaining value, up to whatever the amount is. And so now you have a situation in which you're spending tens of thousands of dollars, plus all the other ancillary expenses that go along with the probate, publishing for creditors, notification in the newspapers, having the assets valued. And a big part of this is to realize, even though you may have a loan against that property, they don't go based upon your equity, they go based upon the market value. So even though you may have a limited amount of equity, you're still going to be paying fees. And when I say you, your estate is going to be paying fees. You, of course, are deceased. You have delivered a long, tedious, very expensive process directly into the laps, typically, of your children. And as a result, it may take a year, it may take 2 years to finish up that particular probate process at the court, all because somebody, you, didn't take care of business earlier on to avoid all that expense and delay. Delay in getting a probate taken care of can be very extensive. It can take a year and a half to clear through a probate at the court under normal circumstances. But you and I, we don't live in normal circumstances right now. These courts are either shut down or dramatically limited. The county recorder's office is unmanned. Everything has to be done by mail. The process of arranging for all sorts of different ancillary issues in the administration of a probate estate have been dramatically changed over this past year, and there is no relief in sight. And so over and over again, we end up, if we have not taken care of the proposition of avoiding probate, we are dealing with the expense, we're dealing with the delay, and we're dealing with, hopefully, we've got some kind of documentation in place. Now, here's kind of the thing that really can be a problem. You know, recently, it wasn't that long ago, I had a situation in which a family, an individual, a man had a client, had gone to one of these do-it-yourself kind of places. And as a result, he had two siblings. He had no children. He wanted his estate to go to his brother and his sister equally. Now, he had 8 nieces and nephews, and he named them. And that in the event that, for instance, if his brother didn't survive, then the share that would have gone to his brother would go to his brother's children. That's the way he set his trust up, he thought. Unfortunately for him, the non-attorney people who had actually handled this case and done the documentation got confused and switched the beneficiaries. As a result, what ended up happening is the 8 nieces and nephews got the house. The 8 nieces and nephews got the stock portfolio. His siblings, his brother and his sister, weren't entitled to anything because they named the nieces and nephews as the primary beneficiaries, not the brother and sister. So you really owe it to yourself to know that you've gotten good quality documentation put in place if you're going through all the time and trouble that you want to avoid probate. And who doesn't want to avoid probate? And so when you have that situation about how do I go about avoiding probate, what you would do is you would create typically a revocable trust. And now what ends up happening? Now we don't have to take the will to court. Now we don't have to go to court because what we have done is we have created a trust agreement, and that trust agreement says, first of all, when I pass away or when my spouse passes away, whoever passes away first, the other trustor of that trust, now owns the house in terms of the trust. And so you should think of a trust as sort of like a box, and what you put into that box is anything that you change the title. So it's going to change from husband and wife as joint tenants to husband and wife as trustees of the husband and wife trust. Now you're safe. Now you need to execute a deed, and that deed would say husband and wife as joint tenants to husband and wife as trustees of the trust. And that figuratively puts the house into the trust. Now, what does that mean? That means that when that first person passes away, the surviving trustee, the surviving spouse, will become the sole trustee and will be in complete control and ownership of the property in the trust, the house. When the second trustee owner passes away, the trust says who's going to be the successor trustee. Is it going to be your son? Is it going to be your daughter? Is it going to be your son and your daughter combined? Is it going to be a trusted friend? Is it going to be a relative, a niece, a nephew, or a professional, your attorney, your CPA? Somebody will become the successor trustee to that trust, and they will move forward. We don't need to go to court. We don't need to spend huge amounts of money or take an infinitely long period of time to get things done. What we can do now is move forward and execute your wishes exactly because it's all down there in black and white in the trust agreement that you drew up way back when. Now we know if there's a predeceased child, then the share that would have gone to that child would instead go into trust for the benefit of their children, your grandchildren. We know that if you have somebody with special needs, that we have to protect them because they're on public benefits. We can take that money and keep it safe in a special needs trust for them. We know that that trust is prepared to handle all sorts of different issues, like perhaps somebody's getting sued and you want to protect them. You don't want to have a situation in which they would suddenly get a legacy from all your hard work and it would be scooped up in a divorce action or during a lawsuit of some kind. So there's all sorts of protections are built into that trust. And as a direct result, you can move forward at a very, very fast pace. You can get things done. You can sell the house, take the cash, distribute it. You can make up your mind if you want to, one wants the house, one wants cash. You can get all these kinds of things taken care of. And that's the reason why, and number one reason why, most people want to use a trust in order to avoid probate.
The cost of long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law. Helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
This is Michael McGuire, and you are listening to Elder Answers, where we get together every week and we discuss major issues facing seniors in the United States today, not the least of which is developing a quality estate plan or taking an old estate plan that has been sitting in a closet somewhere or a drawer, one that was done by a cut-rate facility, perhaps a non-attorney that got their hands on some software and called themselves estate planners. That's not a good idea. The ramifications of that is you end up later on, actually not you, it's typically your kids are trying to clean the mess up for the mistakes that were made. It's not so long ago I heard a story about a non-attorney service that had an individual that they were trying to deed their condominium into a new revocable trust that the non-attorney had provided. And they did a deed, but the deed, they got it mixed up and they made a mistake. And as it turned out legally on paperwork, he put the entire homeowners association, every condo in the project, into this guy's trust. It took them weeks to figure it out and to fix the problem. So all the units all of a sudden were in his trust. And they got no help from the facility that prepared all these documents to get it done. You see this kind of stuff all the time, the mistakes. And it's a question of expertise. It's a question of training. It's a question of experience. And that's what you pay for. You pay for stuff that contemplates issues, and hopefully they never come up. Some issues are going to come up. For instance, passing away is going to come up. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But I want it to be as least expense to my family as possible. You know, one of the other advantages to a trust that a lot of people don't really know about, if you have placed your home in title to your trust, in other words, you physically put it into the box by recording a deed that went from husband and wife as joint tenants to husband and wife as trustees of the trust. then when that happens and that person passes away, the first spouse, even if they had been on Medi-Cal and received tens of thousands of dollars worth of benefits, which doesn't take long because the average cost of being in a nursing home is $10,298 a month. If that was the case, then Medi-Cal will keep track of that individual who's getting those benefits, and when they pass away, they will attempt to slap a lien on that property. They will put a lien on that property for the sole purpose of recouping every penny they paid in the way of benefits. If, however, that house had been titled in a trust for that couple, one of them had gotten benefits and that one passed away, and then the second one passed away, there will be no lien of any kind as long as that house is titled into a revocable trust. And now there's two giant reasons. The one reason is I want to avoid the cost of probate, going to court, spending hours and hours, and days and months, sometimes years and years. And the second reason is I want to avoid once and for all any chance that Medi-Cal, no matter if I pull the long-term care card out of the deck and need time in a nursing home and exercise my rights to get some benefits through Medi-Cal to pay for that nursing home stay, that I will not subject my family to having to repay everything when I pass on. That's a huge benefit. It's a new benefit, by the way. It went into effect on January 1st of 2017, and it's not the kind of a thing that Medi-Cal goes around telling anybody about. It's not the kind of a thing that people that run nursing homes even know about, let alone want to tell you about it. And so the reality of this stuff is that if you have a trust, if you have an estate plan, and you didn't talk about these kind of issues when you got that estate plan put together, you can bet your documents don't cover these kinds of issues. And that means that your situation could be turned upside down, and your second most important idea of not going broke could be lost because your documents don't have a way to protect you. That's the missing link between estate planning and elder law, is having a set of documents that empower you or your family when you come to a crossroads, not because you want to, nobody chooses to go into a nursing home, but because you had to. There was some event, you went to the hospital, you spent some time in the hospital, they sent you out to rehab. And now you're confronted with, you're going to be converted over to convalescent care, same room, same bed, but now the ticket is $10,298 a month. And they expect it to be paid on the first of every month. Or you could apply, if you had the empowerment in your documents, in your trust, your durable power of attorney, that says, wait, we are going to seek public benefits that we as taxpayers have been paying for these many years, since 1965. As a taxpayer, I've been paying for other people. I would like now to have my turn at getting access to those public benefits. And you can. But I don't also want to be confronted with having to repay the benefit later on in the form of a lien that my family didn't know about. It usually comes as a shock. It usually is the kind of a conversation that we really dislike having in our office. And what is the conversation that we have? Well, my father got benefits. He was in a nursing home, and then he passed away. And my mother got benefits. She had to be in a nursing home, and she passed away. And we just got a letter from the state of California saying we owe $200,000. We owe $300,000. Is there something surely we can do something about this? And said, no, it's too late. And now the hard part of the conversation is to tell them, if you had come in the day before your mother passed away, we could have avoided that. You never had to do that. You never had to absorb what you're going to have to absorb now, is that you're going to get sued by the state of California if you don't do it. You're going to have the Attorney General of the state of California is going to file a lawsuit and is going to pound that money out of you and out of that estate, every dime. And yet the people who had created a trust and had utilized the tool of a trust, not only were they able to avoid probate, but they were able to avoid the lien, simply because they weren't dealing with an entity or they didn't know about the rules. They had to pay the price. I have a conversation that takes place in this office over and over again. And I will be talking to somebody about, you can get long-term care benefits in a nursing home through Medi-Cal. Like, oh, yeah, that's what happened to my grandmother. She got very ill and frail, and she had to go into a nursing home. They sold her house. They spent every dime paying the nursing home. And then when she was absolutely dead broke, then they put her on Medi-Cal. And here's the truth of the matter. They never had to pay a dime, not a penny. They could have kept the house. They could have sold the house. They could have used the sales proceeds of the house to upgrade the quality of grandma's care, to make sure somebody was going in there, keeping an eye on her, making sure she was eating, making sure she was clean, making sure she was bathed, getting her meds in a timely fashion, making sure she was going outside and getting a little fresh air and some sunshine, making sure she had some companionship. You could have used those funds to do all those kind of things so that she would be treated like the Queen of England while she was in that facility, as opposed to being dead broke and not getting 1 ounce of additional care than the person sitting next to her who was on Medi-Cal. That's correct. Medi-Cal pays for a semi-private room, and here this person was. They dissipated their entire life savings in the form of their home. And it's always a painful conversation to say you didn't have to do that. We could have done something about that, but of course that's too late now. That's gone. That's over. And so knowing the rules about Medi-Cal is critically important, but even more importantly is having your estate plan put together to A, avoid probate, and B, to be able to access public benefits is critically important. Now, where does that empowerment reside? How do we make sure that our family can protect us when we can't protect ourselves? Well, built into the trustee's powers, and the trustee works like this. A husband and wife create a trust. They are the trustees of their trust. It's their trust. It's the husband and wife's trust. And they are trustees. They can do anything they want with the money. It's their money. It's their house. It's their assets. Put money in, take money out. They can give it away. They can sell one house, buy another house. They can do all those things. It's all invisible to the world. But when the time comes that they need to be protected, they can no longer operate as a trustee, or perhaps one of them has passed away, or somebody is suffering from dementia. There's a clear pathway now for somebody they named as a successor trustee to take over, A, and protect them, B, access public benefits. And those powers will reside in catastrophic illness powers within the trust itself. It says that trustee can do some of the things that they normally would be prohibited from doing if only that special language had been put into that trust. Now, I can guarantee you, if you're not talking to an elder law attorney, that language is not in your trust. How can we be sure about that? I want you to ask yourself, when I got this trust that I have right now, did anybody talk about this? Did anybody discuss this with you? Of course they didn't, because they didn't do that kind of law. They didn't understand that issue, and they didn't do anything to protect you about it. That's why you want to bring your documents in front of an elder law attorney to make sure, yes, we want to make sure everybody gets what they're supposed to get, and B, I want to make sure that I don't become or turn my spouse into a pauper because of the enormous expense of long-term care in California and throughout the country, I might add. So what does that require on your part? You have to take some kind of action. It starts with picking up the phone, 760-422-0404, 422-0404. Ask for a consultation, bring your documents in, an elder law attorney will sit across the table from you. It's a safe environment. We've taken all the precautions. And the reality is that you can ask your questions, or even better, you will get answers that you didn't even know there was a question, because the issues will be raised so you can protect yourself, your spouse, and your family.
The cost of long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law, helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
This is Michael McGuire with the California Elder Law Center, elder law attorney for these 25 past years. We have literally helped thousands of families throughout Southern California, and we continue to do that. And we do that by, in many cases, providing free services to you in the form of, you can go on our website, www.cal-elder-law.com, calelderlaw.com. And there are free documents. They are documents that are available to you, like a durable power of attorney, an advanced health care directive. And these documents have been provided to you for free for you to download and use, because so many of the healthcare providers during this pandemic have been befuddled and restricted in trying to help an individual, especially a senior, who has not prepared their documents, or their documents are so old and so dated they're not effective anymore. And so we want you to have decent documents, and they're free. I don't know how else to do this, make it any easier on you. But most of you really want to dig in deeper. You want to make sure you're taking care of your spouse. You want to make sure that if you are an individual who has a home, who has some assets, that which ones count, which ones don't. Is there some way I'm a veteran. I was a veteran of World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf. Is there anything for me? Is there anything for my spouse? And the answer to that is yes. Yes, there's like $26,000 a year tax-free money is available to you. And so and that pays for your care at home, or perhaps your care in assisted living, or board and care or memory care unit. Medi-Cal will pay for up to $10,000 a month to pay for your care in a nursing home. And so all of these different issues arise, issues that you normally would not have the expertise to handle necessarily on your own, and certainly you won't be able to handle it if you're the one laying flat on your back in the bed. So what do you do about all this stuff? How do you cope with all this stuff? Well, you reach out and you get information. That's what you do. You get information. Now, there's another issue floating around here that really, really needs to be addressed. And it's a very, very difficult situation. If you are struggling with the idea of getting vaccinated during this pandemic, and you don't know where to go or how to get there, to make an appointment and what you have to do, and then you got to come back in 3 weeks and get the second dose and all those kinds of issues, all you have to do is dial 211. 211. That's the number for Riverside County for you to get information. Now, the information they're going to give you is a website, and you have to go to that website to make your appointment. You can get your vaccination now at a lot of different places. You can, like Costco and drugstores and supermarkets. And so there's a lot of places now that are available to you. The fairgrounds in Indio, over at the hospitals. And so there are places and there are answers. And I happened to, yesterday, I had my first experience with getting vaccinated. Now, I will tell you, while I was sitting there waiting, I happened to get it in a Costco store. And while I was sitting there waiting, there were a lot of Costco shoppers that were elderly, were coming up, and they're very uncomfortable with going online. They didn't know how to do it. They had trouble reading even the small print as far as what's supposed to happen to get their appointment. And what about people that don't have a computer? What about people that don't have an internet hookup? And it is imperative that all of us get vaccinated to protect ourselves and to protect other people. That's the only way we're going to get ahead of this. And even if you've been vaccinated, you still must wear a mask. You still must do distancing. You still must be careful about going into closed environments. But it is the pathway to get out from our nightmare. But what do we do with our seniors? How do we handle this? I am appealing to you listening to this radio show right now. If you have a neighbor who struggles with accessing a computer, which is not sure about how to handle this, they need help. Volunteer, knock on their door. Let me see if I can set you up. Take a few minutes to help somebody else. That's how we'll get through this. That's how you can have a meaningful impact on putting an end to this pandemic. We are not out of the woods with this thing. It's not over, and it may not be over for a while for a lot of technical reasons. That's not the issue. The issue is the best thing that you can do for yourself is to get vaccinated. The best thing you can do for your soul is to help a senior who can't handle the process of going online to get it taken care of. Sit down at their computer, help them do it, get them an appointment, and from there on out, they're going to be okay. If you know somebody who doesn't have access to a computer or struggles with a language issue, you need to help them. You need to reach out and get involved in this process. We're all better for it. And you will be the one who will get the chair up front in heaven if you do it. One of the reasons we keep talking to you about getting your documents put in place, even if it's just estate planning documents, but we don't do estate planning just to answer the question of what happens when you die. We do estate planning to deal with that issue, but we also want to address what happens if I live? Who's going to take care of me? How am I going to pay for it? Is that an elder law attorney can sit there and embed in your documents, if they've been updated, if they are effective, they can embed in their powers for your trustee or the spouse for each other to deal with a catastrophic illness. That is to move forward and access public benefits, for instance, like Medi-Cal in a nursing home, and to get some relief from the $10,298 a month that you're going to be dealing with. That's a lot of money. And that is a typical middle-class family fiscal disaster. Not to mention the fact the quality of care is horribly suspect. There's nothing to be gained from that kind of care. There's nothing to be gained from what you're going to get if you pay the $10,000 or you don't pay the $10,000. That's just the nature of the beast. Now, there's a limitation we're all facing right now because of the pandemic is we can't hire that caregiver to go in and supplement your care, which is typically what we would do. But what we can do is we can show you resources and introduce you to different levels of resources that you very well may afford that will provide you with excellent care, especially if your family that you're counting on doesn't live here in the Valley. The ability to reach out to a medical professional who can back you up, that can provide you with the services that are necessary at a price that's remarkably inexpensive, but incredibly powerful. To send you to somebody who deals with Medicare supplemental insurance policies to make sure you're getting everything you're entitled to underneath those programs. And they have new programs this past year. Important programs that are very powerful, that very low cost considering how much you're going to get. But you need access to those resources. You need to have some kind of a focal point to get started. I had a gentleman came in here with his daughter, lots of kids. Everybody is supposed to get reimbursed for money they paid for mom. It's been a very complicated situation. Mother has now passed away. Dad is struggling. And his daughter, who is loving daughter, is taking care of him. And she is really the tip of the spear for the rest of the family. And it's a huge burden on her. But if your daughter doesn't live here in the Coachella Valley, you're in real trouble because she can't physically be here to take care of it, but there's a way to deal with that. Those are the kind of resources that good quality elder law can provide you. Aging options, it's called. And aging options allows you to entertain different ways to pay for your care and different ways to assure you're getting the highest possible care possible without going broke doing it. But you need to take action. 760-422-0404. 760-422-0404. It will give you the opportunity to get answers and to have information shared with you and your family. You know, nowadays we have the adult kids, even if they live far away, are on a Zoom meeting, and they're able to participate in that meeting while you're sitting right there. And no, you don't have to be a computer wonk to get this stuff done. You just need to be in a situation in which you have an open mind and you're in a fact-gathering mode. You can't make a decent decision for yourself until you have the information. That's the challenge. That, and over and over and over again, I have been told that the true value families have in doing something with the California Elder Law Center is that they have a resource when something happens to pick up the phone and call and yell help and get information and find out what they should be doing next and what they should say and how they should be expecting to have their loved ones treated and taken care of and to enforce their rights. That's the difference. That's what's going on at the California Elder Law Center. And all they had to do was pick up the phone and call 422-0404 and see about getting a consultation, getting the ball rolling, educating themselves. It's very rare that somebody gets all the information that they don't want to take some kind of action because it's self-evident how much it can be of value to you, your spouse, and to your children. Stuff is hard enough. It's hard enough dealing with this. It is so much harder today. I will tell you the medical system can in some cases be ruthless. And so you need to protect yourself and your rights. You need to know that there's somebody in your corner that's actually read the law as well. So until next week, this is Michael McGuire with the California Elder Law Center saying thank you for joining us, and I look forward to talking to you or your friends in the very near future.
A child struggling to speak. It's often a developmental disability that can leave a child frustrated and isolated. Life-changing treatment by professional speech therapists is available at no cost to the family. It's at the Stan and Bobby Gold Right Care Childhood Language Center in Palm Desert. We need your donation. On your phone or computer, search Gold Right Care. That's Gold, R-I-T-E, Care. From the Palm Springs Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Give a child the gift of speech.